Going beyond the headlines. Asking the questions you want answered. Exploring government policies and how they impact you. We are delving deeper.
Good evening and welcome to Delving Deeper. I'm your host, Kimberly D'Souza. Joining us this evening is the Minister of Youth Development and National Service, Mr. Cummings, and Director of Youth Services, Mr. Ramrattan. Now, the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service was formed in 2020, and although the ministry is under 2 years, they have launched a host of initiatives to assist young people. And here to talk about some of these initiatives is Mr. Cummings himself. Mr. Cummings, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, Kimberly. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Minister, as I indicated, the ministry is new. You are new at the helm. Can you tell us a bit about what the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service does?
This new ministry previously was a division under the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs. The Prime Minister sought to establish a full-fledged ministry for youth development and national service, and this was done in 2020. The first minister was Minister Hines. I took over from him just about a year ago. And the purpose of the ministry is a laser focus on youth development and as well promoting national service within the youth population to assist with the development of our young people in a holistic manner. It also will promote life skills among our youth population. So in addition to the technical vocational training that we are focusing on and the entrepreneurial development that we are also having as a high priority, we also look towards making sure that our young people understand what it is to be a model citizen. So that is what we're working towards, the output in terms of what we get out of the Youth Development Trust.
Now, Minister, I know that the ministry has been talking about some of the projects. For example, the YAP, is it the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program?
Yes.
Can you tell us about this program and some of the others under the ministry?
We've had several programs over the last year launched. Last week, we launched the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program, which is a program designed to assist us in increasing our food output so that we're looking at the food security of the nation. We have a lot of aging farmers, and therefore the ministry developed this program to bring young farmers into the industry, including training for farmers. The first year involves a training program at AKIAF, a one-year certificate at UTT AKIAF, and then we move them on the lands in terms of a one-year practical training. Upon successful completion of that, they will then be entitled to a 2-acre homestead parcel that will be developed by the Land Settlement Agency. So you get a starter home, you get 2 acres of land. So you're farming, the family lives on the land and farms, either cultivate crops or animals, as the case may be.
Minister, is this a process in terms of owning the land? Will they also own the land as well?
They will, upon the successful completion of the 2-year program, be entitled to 30-year lease on the lands. And as I said, of course, that comes with a starter home, and the government will as well give a $20,000 grant to these young farmers to assist them in their initial startups and as well provide land preparation services.
So because it's the agricultural program, I believe that there might have been a partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture.
There is definitely. The second year of the program, the practical aspect, will be conducted by the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries. So all the technical services in terms of soil testing, land preparation, fungicides, weedicides, etc., that type of advice will come from the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries.
Now, Minister, in addition to the YAP, are there any other projects that you want to highlight that the ministry is undertaking at this point?
Well, we have announced that we will be reopening all of the youth camps. And that, of course, is to make sure that we have the residential, technical, vocational training available to those persons who require that type of assistance. We have the Chatham Youth Camp, the Presto El Dorado Camp for girls. We also have the Chaguaramas Convention Center that will be repurposed as a youth camp, as well as a new camp at Wallerfield. so that we also had discussions with THA some time ago, and we're looking to cooperate with them in terms of the Mount St. George Youth Camp in Tobago. And that's in terms of the residential. In terms of the non-residential, we currently have about 6 of those centers that will offer this similar type of training, but in a non-residential setting. And we intend to add to that a larger suite of these non-residential centers throughout Trinidad. And that will take us to about 14 in total, giving and bringing vocational training in a way that we've never had it before to the young persons wherever they live.
Nice. Now, of course, joining us this time is Mr. Sean Ramrattan, who is the Director of Youth Services. Welcome, Mr. Ramrattan.
Thank you.
Now, Youth Services, can you just discuss exactly what happens under that division?
Okay. In terms of youth services, we at the ministry, in keeping with the National Youth Policy 2025, we recognize young people as co-creators of our society and future. So at the ministry, we are about preparing young people for life and for their successful integration into society as contributing members of society. Currently, we have a number of programs, as Minister would have indicated, but 3 that I would possibly like to share this afternoon with is non-traditional skills training programs. I'll start off with the first program, the All Set program. Now, in our growing up, in our school meets, we might have heard all set, get ready, go, right? So this program is getting young people ready to go, right? To enter the world of work and to be able to be contributing members of society. What this program is, it is alternative learning and life skills enhancement training. That's what the All Set means. But it's really a training program in heavy equipment operation. It is a program that we have introduced this year. It was heavily subscribed. We had over 2,000 applicants. And this year we are offering 100 positions. It is a program that we are piloting with NESC, National Energy Skills Center, to provide to young people. Now, the program provides training in heavy equipment operation. In particular, you have backhoe operation, excavator, skid steer, bulldozer. There are about 14 modules in terms of this program, and the modules cover areas such as health and safety, fundamental of earth movement, and a number of other areas. But in particular, there is 2 components in this program, which deals with entrepreneurship as well as national service or community pride. Now, we at the ministry, we are equipping young persons not just for the world of work in terms of employment as job seekers, but job creators. As a result, we have these components added to the program. Okay, so this program is currently being delivered at the campus, NESC campus in Chaguanas. It is 394-hour contact hour program. There are 5 cohorts of 20 young persons, right? There's 2 part-time programs and 3 full-time programs. So currently, we have 80 students who are enrolled and actively participating in this program, right? Another 20 will come on in July. Okay, so that's the All Set program. We also have another program called Amplify, right? This is a music production program. It is geared towards helping young persons who want to get into the music industry in terms of arranging and producing, creating rhythms and beats. It is towards promoting the indigenous cultures, but more so, given the digital nature of society now, the young persons would be exposed to 2 particular courses, MIDI, and I believe the other program would be EDM, which is another area in terms of music production. Sorry, DAW, DAW,
Of course, yeah.
right? DAW. So that those programs would equip the young persons with the skills not only to become music producers and arrangers, but given the opportunities in the entertainment industry, we're talking about film, music, even the gaming industry, they can produce rhythms and music for the gaming industry, and they could actually operate out of their home with equipment, and they could actually, have a business from out of their home.
So that they can become entrepreneurs.
So that they could. So again, this program, like the All Set program, has an entrepreneurship component and a community pride program. Now, we tend to focus a lot in terms of the national service and community pride, because whilst the young people have a right, we also want to ensure that they understand that there's a responsibility that they have for sustainable national development. Okay. The third program that I would like to mention would be the Skills for Technological Society. Now, we have partnered with MIC IT, one of the premier training institutions in Trinidad. Last year, we would have partnered for the first time. The subscription would have been in the thousands. We had almost 2,000 last year. We were only able to afford 150 positions last year. This year, the subscription to that program was almost 4,000. This year, however, we are able to provide 450 spaces for students. So the first cohort of young persons are in training currently, 150 young persons, and they are in training in 3 particular fields: web app development, coding, and mobile applications. Okay. So with these skills, the young persons are able to enter the digital job markets. They are able to prepare for 21st century jobs, and we are able to create a cadre of young person for the e-market or e-industry outside there.
Mr. Ramrattan, I mean, no doubt this is important now, given how the COVID-19 pandemic has advanced everything, and everything is basically online now.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think this is really a great initiative.
And actually, all 3 programs are delivered online.
Nice.
So the students don't actually have to come into the programs.
Good.
Into a facility to do the program.
Good. Mr. Ramrattan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing what's taking place in your division. Joining us now is Major David Benjamin, who's going to be talking about the Specialized Youth Service Program. Now, Major, what I'm hearing in this division is youth, and so I'm excited to hear exactly what kind of initiatives we have under this program.
The Specialized Youth Service Programs are a suite of programs that are managed on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service by the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force. The members of the Defence Force, of all arms of the Defence Force, the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard, and the Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force Reserves have been specially selected and posted to the SYSP in support of the Civilian Conservation Corps programs, the military-led academic training program, MILAT, the military-led youth program of apprenticeship and reorientation training, MyPAT, and the male transition homes. The common thread of these programs are that they are all military-led and military-supported. And we are working hand in hand with the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service to ensure that all young people who desire the outputs and the initiatives under these programs benefit from them.
Now, Major, I heard military-led and military-supported. So there's a seriousness to this program as well.
The baseline of the program is discipline. And what we try to do is to readjust, press the reset button for many of our young people who need a safety net. Those persons who need support in terms of their own social circumstances. They may not have the resources to make it through in terms of their personal development, in terms of their educational development. So we have front-loaded our training with life skills. those military members are all trained mentors. So they work 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week in support of those young persons in our various programs. And each program has its individual output in terms of whether it's CSEC certification coming from MyLAT, whether it's technical vocation certification from MyPAT, or from TechVoc, as well as life skills training from the Civilian Conservation Corps program.
Nice. Now, I know that a lot of the military arms are involved, for example, Air Guard and Coast Guard. Is there a way for the mentors to guide these young people in case they want to get into these divisions eventually?
Oh, certainly. By dint of the fact that they're exposed to persons from the military, they have a pathway and they have a window in terms of where they can forge their future careers in the military. The military is always recruiting, and we would advise them who may be the best fit for that type of engagement. And it's not only military engagements, but it's really preparing young people for life and giving them the best kind of advice and mentorship possible. So whether they choose to go to one of the arms of the Defense Force, or whether they choose to go to another protective service or open their own business, it's all about preparing them to be successful nationals of Trinidad and Tobago.
Major Benjamin, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing exactly what's taking place under your division.
Welcome.
Now, Minister, it's a tough one, but a lot has been said in the public domain about how these state-run institutions, these child state-run institutions are run. We recently had Mrs. Ayana Webster-Roy talking about the fact that they're going to reopen St. Michael's Home, but it's not going to be under her ministry. It's now going to be transferred to the youth development. I mean, can you share some more about this?
Well, yes, I can say that we have started works on the refurbishment of that facility, and that we intend, when the facility is completed, that we will, of course, continue a restorative development program there for young men. Wards of the state, now referred to as CHINs, that would be children in need of supervision. And it is our intention to operate that program under the ambit of the Defense Force, which currently runs several of the other programs that we have, like MyLAT and MyPart and so. So the Specialized Youth Services will play a role in the management of that facility after it's completed. And we expect that with the good results we've been having from the cooperation between MyDNS and the Defense Force, that we will have positive results coming out of St. Michael's thereafter.
Now, Mr. Cummings, in addition to St. Michael's, the other state-run institutions, how exactly will the ministry be partnering with these institutions to sort of curb what's been happening now?
Well, many of the other institutions fall under the Ministry of Gender, under the OPM, because we deal with, the only facility we will have that will deal with minors would be the St. Michael Home. The other institutions that we are responsible for deal with adults. But in terms of the discipline that we will be enforcing on these organizations, we rely heavily on the support from the Defense Force, which we have been getting and which we have been seeing good results. As we reintroduce the youth camps, we will have some level of orientation in terms of the orientation aspect of it, to have the involvement as well of the Defense Force, while those programs will be run by the soon-to-be-established National Youth Agency of Trinidad and Tobago. We intend that new management model will give us the type of results we expect to see.
Right. Now, Minister, I'm going to switch gears a bit and just go a bit deeper into what it is I really wanted to discuss. I mean, recently the opposition has accused you of land grabbing. There is the special branch report that has been made public. And of course, I believe the FIU would have flagged a $4.4 million deposit into your account. Yes. I mean, I'm leaving this one up to you, Minister. Where do you want to begin?
Well, what it tells us is that we do have a lot of work to do in terms of our young men in Trinidad and Tobago and how they are viewed by members of the general public. I can tell you that I have been a businessman for the last over 25 years, and therefore it came as quite a surprise and shock to me that the special branch will, for instance, make that type of a report in terms of land grabbing, etc. I was very quickly able to demonstrate to the public that those lands were purchased by me and by members of my family quite legally and appropriately, and anybody needed just ask the question and we would have provided the information. Instead, rumors ended up in a report, and that has caused a certain stir in the national community that should not have been caused in the first place. With respect to the deposit that was flagged, which is normal, if there's a large deposit, one expects that somebody's going to look at it and ask the question. Before I entered full-time politics, as I said, I was a businessman and responsible as a chief executive officer for the companies under my purview. We didn't take advantage of a business loan opportunity of some $15 million at the time in 2017. And that loan was serviced by proceeds from various contracts that these companies would have been involved in. So whatever deposits would have come in that is being spoken about would have been proceeds from contract in relation to satisfying that $15 million loan that I spoke about. And so that is what I think would have been flagged, and that is exactly what would have happened. It's a loan that was taken, and the funds that you see coming in there would have been funds from contract proceeds the companies were involved in to satisfy that loan.
Now, Minister, I believe one particular opposition senator would have made some comments, and is it that you had submitted a pre-action protocol letter?
Oh yes, well, if people are irresponsible and they slander you, then as a citizen you have to take action to protect your integrity and your reputation. And I'm committed to doing that. If persons spread misinformation about me, I am going to go to the courts and get the necessary redress.
Minister, are you prepared to go all the way?
All the way. All the way.
Minister Cummings, what do you think is the reason for these weekly attacks by the opposition?
Well, Kimberly, what I can tell you is when I decided to get into frontline politics in terms of being an elected member of the House, I did that with the understanding that there will be this kind of behavior from things I've observed before. The weekly attacks, I think, from the opposition has to do with the fact that I represent a very marginal seat. It was one of the hotly contested seats in the last general election. And therefore, I suspect that the opposition is of the view that if they remove the challenger who was able to defeat them, that they may have greater access to a seat that they must win if they wish to form the next government. So, I mean, people speculate on other matters, but I think that that is the reason why the opposition continues their constant attack. And I'm prepared for it.
All the way?
All the way.
Now, Minister, the Prime Minister has decided to stand by your side. Does this also speak to your credibility as well?
Well, an appropriate question for the Prime Minister. But I'm certain that having looked at the evidence in the matter, the facts, that the Prime Minister has made an appropriate decision.
Nice. And finally, Minister, as we wrap, I mean, what's next for this, new ministry, but this active ministry?
This ministry is positioned now to look at our youth development, as I said before, in a holistic manner, so that we create all the opportunities that will cause our young persons to come out in a more developed and prepared way for the workforce, but also for those who wish to get involved in business, that we create the opportunities of training for them in entrepreneurship, as well as funding and all the technical assistance to cause them to be more job creators as opposed to job seekers. We continue to say that because we want our young people to know that they can take the opportunity, they can take the risk and get involved in business. That's why we've been pushing the agricultural program. That is why we will soon introduce the youth business hubs. And that is why we strengthen NEDGO to continue the incubator program for the businesses that will come and spring up from the work that we are doing. We will soon as well take legislation to Parliament to introduce the National Youth Development Agency of Trinidad and Tobago. And that agency will be charged with the management of all the facilities and the programs that you've heard mentioned here today, save and except the ones that will fall under the ambit of the Defense Force Corporation program.
Great. Mr. Cummings, Major Benjamin, Mr. Ramrattan, thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of Delving Deeper. Join us next week on this same station at the same time for another episode of Delving Deeper. I am Kimberly D'Souza, and on behalf of our entire cast and crew, have a good night.